You already have your passport, you already know how airports work, you have flown to Europe before without a single problem. That confidence is about to be tested. Starting this year, the way Americans enter Europe is being rebuilt from the ground up. Whether you are visiting Paris for the 10th time or Rome for the first time, a new digital border system called EES is already replacing your passport stamps with fingerprints and a face scan. A separate travel authorization called ETIAS is coming to decide whether you are even allowed to board your flight, and the United Kingdom already has its own approval called UK ETA that catches travelers by surprise every single week. These are not small updates, they are the beginning of an era where entering Europe depends on permission, not just a passport. Today, we are breaking down everything you need to know before your next trip. Before we go further, if you want clear, honest travel guidance built for travelers who refuse to let confusing new rules ruin a trip, subscribe to Fly Smart After 70 and turn on notifications because these European entry rules are shifting fast, and missing one update can cost you your boarding pass. Number 1, EU re-exit system replaces passport stamps with biometric tracking. For decades, entering Europe meant a quick look at your passport and a stamp in the pages, a simple habit that made travelers feel in control, counting stamps, checking dates, moving on. That habit is over. The entry-exit system, known as EES, is now fully running at Europe's external borders, and it replaces the old stamp with a digital record built from your fingerprints and a photo of your face. Instead of a border officer flipping through your passport, a machine captures your biometric information and logs your entry and exit automatically, creating a digital trail that follows you across every Schengen country you visit. The upside is real. No more squinting at faded ink to calculate your allowed days. The downside is just as real. The system replaces human judgment with automated tracking, and small mistakes that used to go unnoticed now get recorded permanently. Travelers who assume EES works like the Schengen system are the ones getting stuck in slow lines at Schengen checkpoints this summer because they did not expect fingerprints and facial scans to take longer than a rubber stamp ever did. Number 2, why ETIAS? Approval could decide you fly. Here is the part most Americans still get wrong. ETIAS is not a visa, and it is not optional paperwork you can skip if you are in a hurry. It is a travel authorization, similar to what Canada and Australia already require, and once it launches, airlines will be required to confirm you have one before you are ever allowed to board a flight to Europe. That means the moment of rejection will not happen at passport control overseas. It will happen at your home airport, at the check-in counter, before your vacation even begins. The launch date has moved several times, and as of now, it is expected sometime after 2026, but the direction is clear. Permission is being required earlier and earlier in the travel process. Waiting until the airport to think about ETIAS will become one of the most expensive habits a traveler can have, because there will be no negotiating with a gate agent who is simply following a system that already made the decision for them. Number 3, UK ETA versus ETIAS. The critical difference every traveler must know. This is where thousands of American travelers get tripped up every month. They hear about one European travel authorization and assume it covers the whole continent. It does not. The UK ETA and ETIAS are two completely separate systems run by two completely separate governments with two completely separate applications and fees. The UK ETA is already required right now for eligible visitors flying into Britain It costs a set fee, and it is tied only to the United Kingdom, which left the European Union and never joined the Schengen zone. ETIAS, on the other hand, applies to the Schengen countries, places like France, Italy, Spain, and Germany, and it is a different form, a different fee, and a different approval. A traveler who applies for one and assumes it covers a London layover and a Paris vacation is setting themselves up for a very uncomfortable conversation at check-in. Two systems, two countries, two separate approvals, and confusing them is one of the most common and most preventable mistakes travelers are making this year. Number 4, digital passport checks are replacing traditional border control. Border control used to feel personal, a human officer, a few questions, a stamp, and you were through. That model is disappearing across Europe, replaced by self-service kiosks, automated gates, and biometric verification that compares your face to the record created when you registered with EES. For frequent travelers, this can eventually mean faster processing, but for first-time users, and especially for travelers unfamiliar with touchscreen kiosks, it can mean confusion, hesitation, and long lines behind them. The system is designed to reduce human bottlenecks, but the transition period is creating a new kind of bottleneck, one built from unfamiliar technology and travelers who simply do not know what step comes next. Officers are still present, but their role has shifted from checking passports by hand to supervising machines and stepping in only when the technology fails, or a traveler cannot complete the automated process alone. Number 5. Why airlines can deny boarding before you even fly. Here is the uncomfortable truth many travelers have not accepted yet. Once these systems are fully enforced, the airline becomes the enforcement point, not the destination country. Airlines are required to verify that passengers hold valid travel authorization before departure, because if they let an unauthorized traveler board and that traveler is turned away at the European border, the airline faces penalties and the cost of flying that person home. That financial risk means airlines will not take chances, and gate agents will not make exceptions for travelers who simply forgot to apply in advance. A missing authorization does not turn into an apology and a warning. It turns into a denied boarding pass, a missed flight, and a vacation that ends before it starts, all while standing at your home airport with a suitcase already packed. Number 6, the 90-180-day rule is now easier to enforce than ever. The 90-day rule has existed for years, allowing visa-exempt travelers to stay in the Schengen area for up to 90 days within any rolling 180-day period. What has changed is not the rule itself, but the ability to enforce it. Under the old stamp system, calculating your exact days depended on legible ink and honest counting, and plenty of travelers quietly overstayed without immediate consequences. EES eliminates that gray area completely because every entry and exit is logged automatically and calculated by software, not estimated by a traveler doing mental math in an airport line. Overstaying by even a few days, something that used to slide under the radar, now shows up instantly in the system. And travelers who used to treat the rule as a loose guideline are discovering it has quietly become a hard, unforgiving limit. Number 7, passport validity rules that can get you denied boarding. Many Americans still believe that as long as their passport has not technically expired, they are safe to fly. Europe disagrees. Most Schengen countries require your passport to be valid for at least 3 months beyond your planned departure date from the region, and some airlines apply even stricter internal rules during check-in. A passport that expires 2 months after your trip ends might feel perfectly fine to you, but it can trigger an automatic denial at the counter long before you ever reach European soil. This rule has existed for years, but it is becoming far less forgiving as check-in systems tie directly into government databases, removing the small human flexibility that occasionally let borderline passports through in the past. Checking your expiration date is no longer a formality. It is a requirement that deserves a calendar reminder months before departure. Number 8, automatic overstay detection and its serious consequences. Overstaying used to be a quiet mistake, easy to make, and often easy to get away with, especially for Traveler's Island hopping across multiple countries without a clear count of total days. That era is finished. EES tracks every entry and exit across the entire Schengen area as one combined record, meaning a few days in Italy and a few days in Greece add up together, not separately. When the system flags an overstay, the consequences are no longer limited to a stern conversation. They can include fines, a formal record attached to your travel history, and in serious cases, a temporary entry ban that follows you into future trips. Because ETIAS is designed to screen applicants using exactly this kind of travel history, a single overstay recorded today can quietly complicate your ability to gain approval for a future European vacation years down the line. Number 9, Europe is becoming probationers-based travel. Step back and look at all of these changes together, and one pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Europe is shifting from a region you simply visit into a region that must approve you first. Passport stamps are becoming biometric records, border officers are becoming system supervisors, and casual walk-up travel is becoming pre-authorized, screened, and logged travel. This is not unique to Europe. Plenty of countries already require this kind of advance approval, but for American travelers used to decades of relatively simple entry, it is a real shift in mindset. Spontaneous last-minute trips across the continent are becoming harder to pull off, and travelers who treat Europe the way they treated it 10 years ago are the ones most likely to hit an unexpected wall at the airport. Number 10, first-time EES registration. What to expect at the border. Your very first crossing under EES will take longer than every crossing after it, and travelers who do not expect that often panic unnecessarily. During this initial registration, border officials or a self-service kiosk will collect your fingerprints and a facial photo, link them to your passport, and create the digital profile that future trips will rely on. This process typically adds several extra minutes compared to a traditional stamp, and at busy airports during peak season, that extra time multiplies across hundreds of travelers into genuinely long queues. The smart approach is simple. Build extra buffer time into your arrival schedule for that first trip. Follow the kiosk instructions carefully, and understand that this slower first crossing is a one-time setup, not a preview of every future visit. Number 11. How to PAP for ETIAS without making costly mistakes. Once ETIAS applications open, the process itself is designed to be simple. An online form, passport details, a small fee, and a handful of security questions, with most approvals arriving within minutes to a few days. The mistakes travelers make are rarely about the form itself. They are about timing and trust. Applying too close to a departure date leaves no room for the rare cases that require manual review, which can take longer than expected. Just as dangerous are the third-party websites already circulating online, charging inflated fees to file an application that does not officially exist yet, preying on travelers eager to get ahead of the rule change. The safe move is patience and verification. Apply only through the official government channel once it is genuinely open. Apply weeks before departure rather than days, and treat any site charging a premium for early processing as a warning sign, not a shortcut. Number 12, which travelers are exempt from ETIAS and UK ETA enforcements. Not every traveler needs to worry about every new system, and knowing the exemptions can save real confusion. Citizens of European Union countries, along with a handful of other nationalities with existing agreements, are not required to hold ETIAS at all. Certain long-term residents and holders of specific European residence permits are also excluded from the requirement, since they already have documented legal status within the region. On the UK side, exemptions generally apply to British and Irish citizens, along with travelers who already hold a valid UK visa for their purpose of travel. For the average American tourist, however, exemption is rare, and the safest assumption is that both ETIAS and UK ETA will apply to your trip unless you have specifically confirmed otherwise through an official government source. Number 13, Schengen versus non-Schengen countries. Know the difference before you book. One of the most common planning mistakes has nothing to do with technology at all. It comes from assuming every European country follows the exact same entry rules. The Schengen area includes most, but not all, European nations, and it operates as one connected zone for the 90-day rule and for systems like EES and eventually ETIAS. Countries like the United Kingdom and Ireland sit outside Schengen entirely, running their own separate immigration systems with their own separate day counts. That means a trip combining London and Paris is not one simple visit. It is two different legal entries governed by two different sets of rules with two different clocks tracking your allowed time. Booking a multi-country itinerary without understanding this distinction is one of the fastest ways to accidentally overstay in one zone while feeling perfectly compliant in the other. Number 14, Europe's new biometric borders. What happens to your fingerprints and face kind? It is a fair question, and one worth asking directly. What actually happens to your biometric data once EES collects it? Your fingerprints and facial image are stored in a secure European database linked to your passport and used specifically to verify your identity on future crossings and to calculate your days spent within the region. The data is retained for a set period, generally around 3 years for most travelers, and longer in cases involving overstays or entry refusals, since that history feeds directly into future risk screening. This is not casual surveillance. It is a structured, regulated system, but it is also a meaningful shift from the days when your only record was ink on paper, and travelers deserve to understand exactly what they are agreeing to the first time they place their finger on that scanner. Number 15, airport check-in is becoming the first immigration checkpoint. For most of travel history, the real immigration conversation happened after landing at the destination country's border. That is changing quickly. As airlines take on more responsibility for verifying ETIAS and UK ETA compliance before departure, your home airport check-in counter is effectively becoming the first line of immigration enforcement. A gate agent scanning your documents is no longer just checking you into a flight. They are confirming that a foreign government has already approved your entry, and if that approval is missing, the flight itself becomes unavailable to you. This shift means the stress of European entry has moved earlier in your journey, and travelers who treat check-in as a quick formality are the ones most likely to be caught completely off guard. Number 16, the hidden travel fees tourists will pay across Europe in 2026. Beyond the headline authorization fees, a wave of smaller charges is spreading across popular European destinations, and most travelers never budget for them. Tourist taxes are expanding in cities like Venice, Barcelona, and Amsterdam, often charged per night or per entry, and increasingly enforced through digital booking systems rather than casual cash collection. Some destinations are experimenting with entry fees for day visitors during peak season, aimed specifically at controlling overcrowding in historic centers. None of these charges are large individually, but stack together across a multi-city itinerary. They add up to a meaningful and often unexpected line item on a vacation budget. Building a small buffer into your travel budget for these local fees is no longer optional. It is simply part of realistic European trip planning going forward. Number 17, new carry-on and liquid rules every Europe traveler should know. Security screening across parts of Europe is also evolving with newer scanning technology at select airports, allowing some travelers to keep liquids and electronics inside their bags entirely, while older checkpoints still require the traditional separate bins and the familiar liquid limits. The inconsistency itself is the trap, because a traveler who grows used to the newer, more relaxed screening at one airport can be caught off guard by strict traditional rules at another, especially on connecting flights through older terminals. The safest strategy is to travel as though the old rules always apply, keeping liquids under the standard limit and packed in a clear bag, and treating any newer, more relaxed screening as a pleasant bonus rather than something to count on. Number 18. Why summer 2026 could mean longer airport delays than ever. Airlines and airport authorities have already issued warnings about this exact travel season, and the reasoning is straightforward. EES rollout has coincided with peak summer travel volume, and the combination has created significant queue backups at several major Schengen airports. Industry groups have publicly urged European authorities to add staffing and improve infrastructure, citing wait times stretching several hours at some of the busiest crossings. For American travelers, the takeaway is practical rather than alarming. Build significantly more buffer time into airport arrivals this summer than you have in previous years, particularly for connecting flights through major European hubs, because a tight connection that worked perfectly in past trips may simply not survive this year's longer processing times. Number 19, the ultimate Europe 2026 pre-flight checklist to avoid travel disasters. Pulling all of this together, a handful of habits can prevent nearly every mistake covered today. Confirm your passport has at least 6 months of validity remaining, well beyond the minimum requirement, simply to remove any doubt at check-in. Apply for any required travel authorization, whether UK ETA or eventually ETIAS, weeks before departure rather than days. Double-check whether your itinerary crosses between Schengen and non-Schengen countries, and track your day count for each zone separately. Build in extra time at the airport for both your first EES registration and general security delays this summer. Confirm any local tourist taxes for your specific destinations so nothing surprises you at checkout. None of these steps are complicated on their own, But skipping even one of them is exactly how a well-planned trip turns into an airport nightmare. Number 20, the big jest Europe. Travel mistakes that could ruin your vacation in 2026. If there is one theme running through every mistake we have covered today, it is this: treating Europe's new entry system the same way you treated it a decade ago. Assuming a passport stamp still tells the full story, assuming one authorization covers the entire continent, assuming old security rules apply everywhere, and assuming your day count resets the moment you switch countries, these outdated assumptions are exactly what turns a dream vacation into a canceled flight or a denied boarding pass. Europe has not become impossible to visit. It has simply become a destination that rewards preparation and quietly punishes travelers who wing it. The travelers who stay informed, verify their documents early, and build extra time into every airport step are the ones who will barely notice these changes at all. Which of these new European travel rules caught you by surprise? Tell us in the comments below, because your experience genuinely helps other travelers avoid the exact same mistake. If today's video helped you feel more prepared for your next trip, subscribe to Fly Smart After 70 so you never miss an update as these systems continue to change, and share this with a friend or family member who has a European trip coming up. Because the smartest travelers are the ones who hear about these changes before they reach the airport, not after. Travel smart, stay informed, and never let a preventable mistake cost you the vacation you have been looking forward to.